Okay, no editing. Let's see how this goes. I'm not the best person at doing video stuff. I keep wanting to do it for a long time. Obviously not someone who posts or says anything about a lot of political ideas. I mean, I'll say certain things on my opinion. I'm not saying I'm not opinionated, because I very much am. I try to stay out of just the basic political just random disagreements. And it's not like my opinion really matters to most people, but I feel like there's some things that need to be said. I feel like this election has gone way too far of people going against each other. There are always two sides. A lot of people always say there's a better option. In technicality, that is the case. There are pros and cons to both sides. Just depends on what you're looking for. There is one side that is all about fighting and defending for their American right. My earring just fell out of my ear. Okay. And then the other side is fighting and defending human rights. See the difference there? There's a big difference between fighting for something you were given versus fighting for something that you were born with. So, for example, let's say, I don't even know, because there's not a lot of fair examples about just basic American rights. Just because you were given something doesn't mean it can't be taken away. That's like saying, oh, you made a commitment to be in a relationship, you can't get out of it. No, you can change your mind. Things can change. Yeah, promises are promises for a reason, commitments and contracts are there for a reason, but there are always lines of where it's allowed to be broken. Say for the harm of somebody else. So if you're in a relationship and one person, let's get super strict and biblical. In the Bible, you are not supposed to be able to divorce unless the other cheats on you. So if someone cheats on you, you can get out of that marriage contract, biblically. Government-wise, if they do you wrong, you're allowed out. So let's talk about gun control. You were given a right to have your guns. You're still going to be given a right to have your guns. Except you have to be completely proven registered, and you cannot have assault weapons. Yes, there are really weird definitions about what's considered an assault weapon, and there are gun enthusiasts. I am a huge fan of one on YouTube. There are gun enthusiasts. It's your hobby. It's something you love to do. You love to collect them and build them and shoot them. But here's the thing. Having those openly available, and yes, I can get into the argument that I agree, the people who don't need them are probably going to find a way anyways. But having a little control helps. Especially in the sense of a lot of the issues we're having now is children getting involved with them, and they're not so easily as getting them illegally as a smart adult who knows how to go behind the scenes. So if there are these assault weapons that are causing a lot of harm to other people, is viable for the right to have those taken away from you. It sucks. It does. I mean, like, I love shooting. It's not like I do it a lot, but it is fun. And I get hobbies and things that you just do, but there are sacrifices that need to be made. If you're going to be so destroyed because a couple of guns out of your huge collection, there are so many that are legal to own. There's so many different kinds. You can have 300 guns and it still doesn't even break the surface of how many there could be. You have to get rid of the assault ones. It sucks. But it's a sacrifice for the safety of a lot of children. Small sacrifice, in my opinion. Now, you can go on the other side about abortion. Equal, but not so much. I mean, it involves the harm of other people, but you're right to be able to make decisions of your own property. Guns on your property, owning personal property, your body, personal property. I don't like the idea of abortion. In my case, I feel like if I was heavily pregnant and I had to choose between risking my life birthing a baby or going ahead and terminating it for my own safety, I don't think I could make that decision. I don't see that possible. I don't see that you don't love your kid if you have to make that decision. Sometimes people find, if you already have kids, maybe this is your second or third, you don't need to sacrifice your child's mother in regards of having another one. There are so many moral dilemmas upon this. And again, people need to do their research. Abortion is supposed to be, again, in that case, if your life is in danger, like for late-term abortions, usually that's if your life is in danger. If you are going to probably die giving birth, then you can have an abortion. And again, that's even hard for women to do. If they feel like their life is in danger and they want to go ahead and terminate, there is such a big process. You can't just say, my life's in danger, I'm going to kill this baby. There's a lot of permissions that you have to be granted. The doctor has to be granted permissions by the government. They can't just decide to do it for you. Rape victims. If I was raped and I became pregnant, I would choose the baby. I feel like the trauma in that would be that I'm the kind of person who believes everything happens for a reason, and this baby was given to me for a reason, but some people cannot handle that the same kind of way. And I've come to realize that some people handle trauma differently. Some of it really scars them. Some of it helps them learn from those situations. I would be the kind of person who could take and accept it and make a challenge out of it, be able to progress from it. Some people don't have that opportunity. Some people, again, if you are a teenager and you don't really have a supportive family, it's not as easy. Because you've been done wrong, and so you're allowed to make that decision to defend your life because of it. It is in sacrifice of, you'd say, an innocent person. Let's say, I'm big on extreme metaphors, but let's say someone's pointing a gun at you. In your mindset, you are thinking, save yourself. You step behind someone else and they get shot. You'd probably feel guilty. I mean, you would probably feel horrible. You're like, oh my gosh, I just let this person die to save myself. But instinctually, animalistically, sometimes protecting yourself and taking care of yourself first is the most important. And you can't blame someone for having that mind process where they want to do best for themselves first, even if it's sacrificing an innocent person because they are protecting themselves from being wronged. Again, in that scenario, you haven't been wronged yet. You're in the danger of being wronged. But again, it's kind of a metaphor. And so it's very, very complicated. And I guess the thing is whether you're defining it, my problem is I relate it to, obviously, and you can't fight me on this, it's in the Bible, God does support death. Or murder, not really murder, but killing of people. He's aided in wars in the Bible, and all of that. But it's the difference between defining if, you're totally fine with death row. So you're all about, you can kill people based on their own judgment. Or you can also define it as, again, it's that person's decision to do what they want. If they want to murder a baby, that's their decision. But then again, we also take into account if someone murders someone on the street, we incarcerate them, punish them, all that. So you could say, oh, they did something wrong, they'll be judged by God in the end, whether it's right or wrong, it's not on me, it's for them to find out in the end. But then it's also, you can argue if it's literally murder, which, again, fine line that I don't even know. I really don't know my opinion on it. I feel like the amount of time it takes from conception to really knowing you're pregnant, the process of those hormones and how much the baby has grown, I feel like it's considered a baby at that point. Scientifically, there's no way of knowing. That's just how I feel about it, and it hurts me thinking that someone could kill it after, but that's how I view it. It's the same thing as some people think that saying I love you means nothing. You have to do something to show it. Some people, it's a love language. Again, really sensitive to compare it that way. But it's really hard to know unless there is full proof. Let's say it this way. There's proof that it's a living being. Whether you're talking about brain development, heartbeat, all of that, you could say, well, yeah, it's a living thing, but you're allowed to kill animals for food. Not comparing a baby to an animal, but in that mindset that you're saying it may be a living being, but it's not a human. It's not, it's not alive. There's no soul or anything like that. We don't have any major proof about when the soul is entered. There are so many different opinions and elaborations on what it might be, if it's at conception, if it's the first time its heart beats, or when it's taking in oxygen from the mom, or when it's first born and it takes that actual first breath of life, as it kind of claims in the Bible. But again, the Bible has a lot of metaphors and people mistranslate things, so it's really hard to tell what he meant by that. But again, as much as you want to be able to control the murder of somebody, so let's say if there is a murderer on loose, if they murdered somebody, they're harm to other people. So you need to keep them out of the way of protecting them from someone else. If someone aborts their baby, even if that can be seen as a murder, they're not going to be a harm to somebody else. And so there's no really point in holding them back from society because of it. Now again, or to say, if you're the kind of person who has more than, I'd say one, but more than a couple abortions, then yeah, something's wrong with you and you need to get fixed or close your legs, or, that's a little extensive. That shouldn't be happening. So yeah, I would probably consider you doing that a lot. So many sensitive topics, hard to really get into, but I just really want people to know my opinion on things, because it's really important to know that it's good to have this feeling of being able to right things or make sure that things are being done right, but sometimes things are out of your control, out of your circumstances. If you really think the world would be a better place by stopping abortions, that's really not going to happen. It may stop the amount of murders, but, and I'm not saying I'm for abortions, I'm just making these arguments and why people need to stay out of other people's business, because those people arguing that people who say they're pro-life and they're against abortion aren't really pro-life because there's all these kids who need to be adopted. If someone wants to be pro-life, if someone is against abortion, that doesn't make them a bad person. They really just don't feel like it's right. Don't criticize them for that. Now, of course, if you're pro-life and you criticize someone who is pro-choice, don't treat them like they're a murderer. You have no judgment on that. You don't know why they might believe that. And sometimes people have a belief that's just like, well, it's my body, it's my decision, which is kind of true, but it's a little deeper than that. You never know people's reasonings for beliefs in things. I mean, yeah, so let's get off that topic. I think you get the gist. Well, I got into that somehow by still talking about gun control. Pretty much, I'm for gun control only because the way that they talk about, now, of course, if they lie and make it way harder than it needs to be, that sucks. There's no way of knowing until it actually happens, because if things stay the way they are, nothing's going to get better. If they restrict a lot of our rights, again, in my opinion, it's a small sacrifice for the safety of other people. It sucks. It does to have something you're really passionate about that makes you happy, but it's for the safety for a huge amount of people. Let's see. What else? Let's go into homophobia. I will start out and say, just because I'm not secretive, I don't neglect to have people know my thoughts. I mean, like, I'm a very open person. I just try to avoid pointless situations and arguments that I don't really want to be involved with and don't need to be involved with, but I will stand my ground. I don't agree with being gay. It doesn't make sense to me, or it just doesn't seem right. That's how I view it. And I mean, it's just, I'm about the way we were created naturally, and it's just the process that it goes. Now, I have absolutely nothing against gay people whatsoever. Honestly, so it's not hypocritical. I don't think being gay is the option, but man, when I see a gay couple that are just so freaking cute together, and you will find so many of them on TikTok. For those of you who know them and watch them, Haley and Kendra, Ian and Chris, so cute together. I mean, I appreciate their happiness. I enjoy watching them be so great together. It doesn't disgust me or gross me out or infuriate me because they're doing something that I think shouldn't be done. I mean, I watch all kinds of movies where people are having sex where they're not married. Not to say I'm fully like, don't have sex before marriage, because things happen, circumstances, but I don't think it's great to be with a lot of different partners. I'm not going to refuse to watch those movies or insult the movie because it's showing premarital sex or anything like that. It's just a love scene with people, and it just makes the movie heartfelt. Sometimes it's just there for no reason and it's vulgar, but you get the gist. Just because they're doing something that you don't think is right, it's not harming you. Actually, I should have said this from the beginning about how all my opinions come across is you should be able to do whatever you want as long as it's not harming anybody else. That's my motto. So if you're gay, you're not affecting anybody else. And now if you say, oh, my children shouldn't be exposed to that. Your children are exposed to cursing, violence, drugs, just judgment, racism, sexism, all the time. It's their choice, and how you raise them that depicts how that's going to affect them in the future. If they see someone being gay and you don't want them to agree with that, just tell them that that's not really what we do. That's their decision, but that's not really the right way. If they don't agree with you, you've done your part. Again, you can see it as a lot of people who are very strict Christians believe that it is their job by God to raise their kid in a very specific manner. Like, that's the whole dedicating your kid to a church, is that you're going to do what it takes to get them saved and all of that and stuff. And you do everything you can, but doing it forcefully and shoving it down their throat isn't actually what's best by them to get them to that point. Now, whether they become gay is a whole nother story. I'm not even going to get to that because I don't know how I would handle it if I had a kid like that. I mean, I would not shun them. I would love them with everything in my heart. If that's what they were set on, then I'd have my own opinion. I'd live by it. I'd love their partner. I'd support them. I'd do everything I can that they were happy in the world. I have my own thoughts on it. I don't think that they'd go to hell for it. God, when people say that, so again, this is also a controversial topic, but a sin is a sin. A sin is a sin is a sin. Now there are the 7 deadly sins, but that doesn't make them worse than any other. If being gay is a sin, judging them for being gay is a sin. So if you think they're going to hell for being gay, guess what? You're going to hell too for being in a judgmental. So stay out of it. You don't need to judge them. It's not your life. If you feel like you're being succumbed to, I don't know, something traumatic, walk away. Ignore it. It's an amazing thing that we're able to do as humans. Okay, yeah. Sometimes it's hard to ignore things if it's shoved in your face or if you have issues avoiding things like that. But it's still doable, especially in situations like that. Going into that politically, in the government stance, they're still humans. They're human beings. Again, it's like saying a child is like unintelligible, like they're not fully grown, they don't know how to make correct decisions, and so that they don't have a right to, I don't know if that would be getting to this, it's not necessarily politically, but saying that because they're your kid, they don't have a right to privacy, that they're your kid, and the whole like taking away their door crap or going through their phone. No, they're a human being, they have the right to privacy. That is literally a human right, in my opinion. Stay out of their business. But again, even if being gay is so wrong, that doesn't make them inhuman. They still have rights. If gays get married, who does that affect? If gays adopt a child, the only effect that has is that child is going to be raised to believe that being gay is okay. Who does that hurt? Yes, Christians may say the child because they're not going to know any better. Guess what? When they grow up and get to learn all of the facts about it, they get to make that decision for themselves. Because I know a lot of me in general, when you're very, very spongy as a kid and you take in a lot and believe a lot of people that you trusted and you grow up and learn the truths, you're able to change your mind about things you used to believe because you're a grown adult and you can make your own decisions once you have the correct information. So if you're afraid that all these adopted kids are going to be grown to be gay, well, when they grow up, they can change it if they want. What are they going to sin throughout their childhood? Oh, wait, all kids do. Constantly rebelling against your parent and thinking badly against them because of them punishing you for things you probably should have been punished for. We all do it. We're kids. We make so many mistakes when